Yeah, nice try.
Woo!
Woo-hoo.
What's going on, Josh?
Let's
What are we looking at? Out there we
well,
go.
I'm getting my pod set up. Why is my camera just like golly?
Thank you guys for
Horrible.
sending in some really great questions this week. Quantity was average, but the quality was pretty good.
Nice.
I've chastised the audience for sending poor questions, so I should praise them when they send good ones.
Very good.
Thank you, sir. Let's just let the people pour in. White Claw, is that the beverage of the hour?
Even though they don't respond to their DMs, I'm at this point. I'm gonna send out a message to anyone that will send me free seltzers. I'll take it. Anything. I'll take Bud Light seltzer if you guys are gonna send it.
Somebody tag Truly before Josh switches his allegiance.
Golly, man. I messaged him a very heartfelt message.
I know. It was a beautiful message. It was drenched in authenticity. It was an excellent message. I think I thought you were going to say you're going to just start sending invoices to Truly for your endorsements, which I think would be very appropriate.
And some quotes, yeah, like you guys owe me tens of thousands of dollars at least.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Have you been watching any preseason football tonight? Your team played tonight.
No, I'm not into the preseason stuff. I don't like to watch half of a quarter of starters. I did not want. Did they win?
I don't know. It must have just ended, actually. I don't know.
I guess like if you want to watch one series for all your starters and then turn it off, but yeah, the outcomes don't really matter.
No, they definitely don't.
I need to watch the Cowboys Hard Knocks. I really like Hard Knocks. That's a great show.
No doubt. Thank you, Garrett. Yeah, Hard Knocks is always great. I prefer to binge shows like that, so I'll just wait until the whole season is out, and then I'll watch it in one go. All right. Are you ready to get started? Because we have a lot of stuff.
I have a meal day.
Let's do mail days.
Yes. Well, I already showed it, but shoot. There we go. Look at that. Got it. 97 Penny Hardaway PMG Championship. Look at that light. Woo.
Love it.
You have a PMG Championship of Jordan? I can't remember.
Never have owned one ever.
Really?
I think you knew that too.
I didn't know that. I was just and tomorrow is my birthday as well. I did not tell you that.
Tomorrow? Christina told me it was Monday. Oh no.
Oh, that's worse. So
well,
it's worse to be off by 2 days than to not know it all.
Yeah, I think it is. Are we gonna cross into your birthday on the crossover?
You definitely will. I will not.
Okay, well, it's really only your birthday when your time zone crosses. So, all right. Well, happy early birthday. So maybe the chat would send a few cakes, a few candles, a few happy birthdays here, guys. Are you paying attention to us, or do you just come into this chat to talk to each other and occasionally take a cue on a topic from us?
I really want to know if Shay is going to say happy birthday to me. Most of all, that's what I'm waiting for. Because if he doesn't, then that's just cruel.
Take the high road, Shay, and send the happy birthday over. There we go. Thank you, Kevin. Sports Card Vault, the great Kevin. Thank you, guys. All right, there. Oh, you got some cupcakes, too? Good. I know Josh, I can just tell Josh does not like to make a big deal of his birthday either. Oh, look at that. You got a lollipop from G of the Lucky Show.
I was mostly doing it to help you out for the awkwardness of Sunday getting here and being like, was yesterday your birthday? And I'll be like, yeah, well, you missed it. So.
And so are you turning 21? I don't, how old are you?
I wouldn't be telling these guys that I'm just now turning 21.
That's right. Well, maybe that's why Truly wasn't ready to sponsor you quite yet.
Maybe.
Wow. Okay. The birthday love is overflowing. Oh, there's a guest appearance from Christina. Okay.
Tell her she was wrong.
Christina, you were wrong about Josh's birthday. It's tomorrow, not Monday.
Oh, it's the 14th. That makes more sense. Yeah. Okay. Sorry, Josh.
Me and Magic Johnson, we share a birthday.
Wow.
When Michael Scott calls Jan, and he's like, "Happy birthday, Jan." She's like, "It's not my birthday." And he's like, "Oh, really? I thought we had the same birthday." Happy birthday, Michael.
Oh, yes, great technique by Michael to break the ice and get a conversation going. Okay,
All right,
so let's go. Christine, I may need your help on a visual aid for this first question. Just be at the ready.
I don't know what that means.
That's all right. Bear Down Boiler Up says, congrats to Card Ladder and the partnership with Collectible app. This is a huge step forward for the asset trading platform, and I hope it possibly leads to market hours trading or 24-hour trading on the app, since they now have a deal with the best pricing data collection company in the hobby. This is a new area of the hobby I've dabbled in recently and see massive potential here. What are Card Ladder's plans and goals coming out of this deal? Congrats again. Christina, if you have your phone with you, could I give a little visual demonstration of what Card Ladder's presence on Collectible looks like? And then Josh, what do you think? Do you have any reaction to this question from Bear Down Boiler Up?
Oh yeah, we are equally excited about this partnership. We feel that it's going to help them and us, which is always what you want. And yeah, I mean, our goal internally, as Card Ladder, is to kind of spread our data as much as we can and make sure everyone has access to it when they need it. So.
No doubt. Oh, damn. Well, the way it works is on Collectibles offerings that have tracking within Card Ladder.
Go to Collectibles Instagram.
There you go. There are displayed the 5 most recent sales of any card that's tracked by Card Ladder. And we pull data from a whole bunch of different sources. I'd love to actually show you guys a visual of some of the different sources that we're getting data from. So here we go. So sales data from the most popular marketplaces. We're getting data from eBay, Leland's, Golden, PWCC, including Premier, Heritage, SCP, MySlabs, the great MySlabs, Memory Lane, Beckett, Iconic, Robert Edward Auctions, Love of the Game, Mile High, Julian's Auctions, and in fact, we've even recently added a few more. So we aggregate data from all those places, and it can be very important to get data from every marketplace possible, especially on some of these rare vintage cards that don't sell very much. And then here's a little promo that Collectible put out, sort of showing what it looks like. So I'll wait for it to refresh. It has good music with it too. There we go. So there you go. Little showcase of thank you, Christina. Let me turn off the music now. Okay, there's a little showcase of how Card Ladder and Collectible have teamed up. We've also teamed up on other things too, besides a data relationship. We were one of the sponsors on one of their events on Thursday night, the National, and we've teamed up with them for giveaways and other things too. So yeah, very excited, right? Great, ready to go. Good. Anything else to say about teaming up with the great people at Collectible?
Something else is coming, but it will not yet be announced.
Something else is coming, but it will not yet be announced. Christina, thank you for that. All right.
Really dropping the big hints tonight. Something's coming in a future date. We can't tell you what it is.
All right.
Pretty much, yeah.
Ken Golden in the chat. Great.
Yeah, Ken, help me get a sponsorship with Truly. That'd be great.
Ken can just do anything with the snap of a finger. Okay. Cards. And one more question before we get to the big topic of the day. Wonder if anybody can guess what the big topic of the day is. Kung wants to know, can you guys talk about the scan option that was on the Card Ladder app that got deleted? Yeah, we're just improving it. We're just improving certain parts of the functionality of it, and then it will be back. Okay. Cards and Candy 911 says, with all the data you guys see all day, is the sports card market rebounding? And Josh, bear with me. Have a few sips of Truly. let me show a little bit of data. Lucky you got it. Okay, I'll make this super brief. Is the sports card market rebounding? Okay, so we're looking at total sales volume of the last 3 months. By the way, you can look at the all-time sales volume as tracked by Card Ladder from day one. Total daily sales volume, you can sort of see the arc of the hobby represented in this graph. But let's zoom in on the last month. And so the National took place right here. No surprise, right? Dip in sales during the National. After the National, we had some small spikes. So this is a sales day of about $3 million. This was when Mile High's auctions ended last week. This enormous spike up to 10 million represents the coverage we had of gold in auctions last auction. And then in the last few days, the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday of this week have been right around the $1 million range. So $1 million in daily sales volume is pretty good. That's pretty good. It's nowhere near the 2 to 3 million per day in sales volume that we were seeing in February, but it's pretty good. And it's definitely stronger than one would expect, given that seemingly many people would have spent a lot of money at the National. But instead, it seems that people are spending strong. Now, there's some data to sort of paint a picture of where we're at market-wise. The Card Ladder 50 index tells a quite different story, to be honest with you. If we look at the index, this is a 3-month window into the index. 3 months ago, the Card Ladder 50 index was at 25,000. Today, it's at 18,000 and treading water. So that's not representative of the whole market, but it is representative of 50 iconic cards across a number of different genres in about 8 different categories. So the CL50 index is not doing so hot right now. Still up nearly double over where it was a year ago. So there's 2 different data points. Total daily sales are pretty strong. The CL50 index continues to slowly cool. All-time highs are being set every day without fail. And enormous cards with enormous prices, but that's not showing up in the CL50 index. So what do you think, Josh? Looking at the data we just looked at, also just tapping into your network, your insights into the hobby, is the sports card market rebounding? Where are we at?
Yeah, I mean, it feels like it is slightly, but a lot of that is just the perception of all the activities and events that have been going on recently. We're all getting very excited about all the stuff that's been happening. So from that regard, yeah, definitely, people are more active. I feel like I've seen them in person more recently than I have before. So I mean, it does feel that way for sure, and that's definitely good. But the data shows that it's still kind of recovering from the craziness of February. And you and I have the perspective of the last 5 years, and to me, like, everything in the last year is just insane, given where we were 5 years ago. So like, it's kind of, if you're asking me, is it rebounding from what it was in February? No, I don't. That was just insanity. Are we at a more stable, reasonable part than we were in February? Yeah.
Good. I think that's a very sober take. Rodman asked for a zoom out of the Card Ladder 50 index. Here's a 2-year zoom out. The index was worth about 4,500 2 years ago, worth 18,000 today. Let's zoom out to 1 year. If you zoom out to 1 year, the index was at 10,000 a year ago. It's at about 18,000 today. And if you zoom out to 6 months, 6 months, that's where you really get the peak. So if you zoom out there, you're at early March. And in early March, the index was near its all-time high of about 28,000. Over the quarter, the index is down 28%. Over the month, it's down 8%. But I guess it's ticking up a little bit day over day there. Good thing to keep an eye on. You do not need to be a Card Ladder Pro member to be able to look at the CL50 index. You can look at that on the free website. So just a good metric, keeping pulse of the hobby. But like I say, the flip side of that coin is read the ladder headlines every day, because every single day, without fail, cards are setting jaw-dropping all-time highs. And we talk about 8 of them every day, every single day. I think, as the great Dr. Beckett said, we are in a mixed market right now. Definitely a mixed market. Okay, thank you.
Football's on fire. Football stuff is on fire, not surprisingly.
Football stuff is doing incredibly well. There was a sale of a Mahomes Contenders PSA 10 for $90,000 not long ago. Yeah. All right. Now on to the big questions of the day. Jimmy wants to know, how often are you updating the ladder index, adding or removing cards? We have never changed the composition of the 50 cards of the index, Jimmy, and we just let it ride. We just let it ride. All the cards are durable. I think the oldest card in there is a Giannis Prism-based PSA 10, if I'm not mistaken. So, is that right?
I thought the Mahomes snuck in there.
Oh, okay. Well, if the Mahomes is in there, but maybe it didn't, though, because I think it starts in 2015, and we didn't use divisors on it. Oh, who knows? I mean, you can take a look at it. Will we ever look to change it? Maybe. Or maybe we'll just add another index. I don't know. I
We have
don't.
a formula now for adding in new cards. Like we know how to fix that if we need to. We just haven't.
Yeah. So, Jimmy, having a financial background, I'm sure you're familiar with the methodology of indexes like the Dow Jones Industrial Average. When stocks come in and out, a divisor is used to make that adjustment happen seamlessly. We use the same methodology when constructing our total market player indexes. Yeah.
We're losing people.
Yep.
You're losing them. We're dropping people.
Sniper says, I asked because S&P adds and removes companies. Yeah, I'm with you, buddy. Okay. All right. The two big topics of the day. They're related. The first one is this question comes from Lameem James. Lameem James wants to know, what are our thoughts on the Lamello Ball and Miles Bridges autograph controversy? Let me just set the stage briefly. All right. So here is a recent Miles Bridges autograph characterized by an M and a B with an upward slash and the number 0. Here is a recent Lamello Ball autograph characterized by an M and a B, but the B slashes this way, slashes in, whereas Miles Bridges slashes out. All right. Excuse me. And then there was a post made to Card Porn's page that shows a Lamello Ball with the B slashing in, and then it shows a Miles Bridges, but with the B slashing in. So one wonders, was there Photoshop afoot? We'll never know. But then Miles Bridges went on to share to his Instagram story the fact that him and Dip, which I think is a nickname for Lamello, have the same signature. His words, they have the same signature, except he puts the number 0 after his. All right, Josh, react.
Who says that? Hey, we have the same signature. That's such an odd thing to say in any sort of conversation. It's just not like a normal thing to be like, dude, it's fine. We got the same signature. We happen to be at the same agency, same team. Yeah, don't worry about it. If I had to guess, which is what makes this show entertaining, I would say that someone is signing both of those cards. They look pretty similar. And what would I say if I didn't want to get caught and this happened? I would probably say, yeah, we have the same signature. What else are you gonna say? The more interesting story is is PSA and BGS going to authenticate these? Because part of their authentication process is to authenticate the validity of the autograph, is it not? And so if they've seen the hand gestures of Lamello's previous auto and they're looking at this one, I mean, they're probably going to just say it's real. Panini's going to say it's real. Lamello's going to say it's real. I've seen some people DM me and they're like, "Hey, I've gotten in-person autographs from Lamello Ball with the MB." So, it could be real. I could be wrong, and I'm just sort of just talking to my ass here. But I don't know. It doesn't. Something seems a little bit off about this, and I'm not sure. This is like Lulu Gate all over again.
All right, I'll tell you what's off about it to me. Both of these young men had more elaborate full name signatures at one point in time, and then they both very naturally condensed it. That's normal, right? That's normal for a young athlete to do that. Yeah. Yep. So they condensed their autographs, but the part that raises the eyebrow is the fact that they both condensed and evolved their autograph to the same thing. Okay, Lamello Ball, maybe LB would be a more natural consolidation of the signature, but Mellow Ball, okay, but it's conceivable, it's plausible. But for them both to consolidate to the same MB and for it to look very similar is an interesting convenience. because it would just so happen that if two people shared the same signature, maybe one day guy A signs all the items, then the next day guy B signs all the items, and they take turns or something. That's a wild speculation. I'm not saying that that's happening, and I have no reason to know that that's happening.
So
Or
best
Hey,
case,
Christina wants to weigh. Come to the camera. Come weigh in.
or you have two young kids.
Look at the camera.
I am looking at the camera, and I'm also looking at Josh. Hi Josh. Or you have, or you have two young kids who are like BFFs right now because they're always together, and oh look, they are copying each other's mannerisms, and look, they're signing things the same because they're both
Is
followers.
that why your signature looks like mine?
So yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that's exactly why mine.
yeah, I can actually see that. They are very young, and like I remember practicing my signatures with friends when I was a kid. Like, oh, what did your signature look like? I can kind of see that, but they're very similar. They are very, very similar, and like the loop on the first part of the M is like a little too much for me. Like, so best case scenario, these two guys spent like an entire day practicing their signatures together. That's best case scenario, right? That's weird.
How about Panini just has supervised signings for top players and top cards? There's a novel idea. I think that's an excellent idea.
The league has had Panini's had some restrictions around COVID protocol with the players, so I'm not sure that like, and we'll get to that with the patch stuff, but I'm not sure that would have been conceivable this year. But yeah, you're right. Like, it would be great if we could go back to, witnesses and stuff like that. Because I mean, yeah, it's weird.
By
I
the
mean,
way,
what happens if Lamello Ball comes out with a different autograph from a different set, and we're like, oh, so now you're back to a different autograph again? What happened there? You're not gonna be able to hide from this.
By the way, it was Ken who suggested what I suggested. So all credit to Ken. All right, let's move on because there's a related controversy this week as well.
Same card.
Same card. This card is quickly becoming infamous. 100 Cardboards sends in this cryptic message to us. The enclosed officially licensed material is not associated with any specific player, game, or event. And if you're wondering what that is in reference to, I'll show you. That is in reference to the backside of Lamello Ball's National Treasures RPA. Right there. The enclosed officially licensed material is not associated with any specific player, game, or event. The autograph is guaranteed by Panini America. So, have I properly fleshed out the issue here? Okay. So
Yeah, but the other part is that like,
fill in the history of this.
well, it's South Park Cards in the chat. He was telling me, he was posting that there was some like COVID protocols in place that like they couldn't do the rookie day that they usually do. And on the rookie day is when they like get the jerseys together and have the players, touch them or wear them or whatever they do. So because they didn't have that event this year, they clearly, weren't able to do what does he say? He said, hold on. Dude, this fucking chat is so stupid. When I scroll, it like goes to minimum. What did he say?
South said it's because COVID, they couldn't have any in-person events.
And also, yeah, thanks. And also, like, we've been trending in this direction for a long time. I don't. It's already been like the dudes like touch it at some event that's like organized by Panini. It's not like they had any intimate relationship with these patches previously. Anyway, it's like, oh yeah, they don't even care. They touch them, whatever. They move on. They probably don't even touch them anymore. They probably just like have them in the same room. So like to go from that to now, basically like their jerseys that they buy at Walmart. Clearly, like people don't care that much about the patches, and it's all about just like National Treasures and the card itself. We've been trending in this direction for a long time. And if you don't want this anymore, stop buying it. Stop spending $50,000 on these cards, and I don't know what the breaks are costing, but probably like pretty expensive to get these breaks, right? Stop putting your money into it, and then they will fix it. But if you keep giving Panini money to do this stuff, like their incentive is to keep doing it, right? Like nothing's gonna change really.
No doubt. Well, we have a ton of smart questions on this topic that delve into some of the implications of it as well. So you just mentioned South Park Cards. Here is a question that he wrote in with. He says, with the current card apocalypse of cards not having game-worn material, How much, if at all, does it hurt the Mahomes sale of $4.3 million and Doncic Logoman sale of $4.6 million, with both being non-game worn? Considering people didn't know that National Treasure's Exquisite and every other product except Flawless was not game worn until now, and even ESPN thought the Mahomes was game worn. Will we see a noticeable decrease in prices for napkins and multi-layered napkins in shapes? Parentheses, Logoman/Shields.
I did know that my LeBron Exquisite RPA is not game worn. I think a lot of
Can we
people.
distinguish that really quick? There's actually 3 tiers now. There's player had no association whatsoever. There's player worn/event worn, and then there's game worn.
Game worn. Sure.
Okay.
So like I knew this fact. A lot of people that have been in the hobby for a while know this. I would hope that people dropping $4 million on a logo man know that it's an event worn or event, touched item. But I think I really don't think this is gonna like matter that much because people have already established that they're willing to spend a ton of money on this player event worn. So like the difference between that and this new thing isn't that big of a deal. To me, it makes me a little nervous that people are like willing to accept worse and worse, further from game worn, and they just sort of like let it go. But I think with these cards, especially the National Treasures, the Logo Mans, like people just want that specific card. It's all about the history of the 99. It's all about the RPA. It's like you're basically buying the representation of this player. You're not buying it for the autograph in the jersey. If you were buying it for the autograph in the jersey, you would go buy a game worn jersey and you would go get an in-person autograph. Like if that's what you really wanted, people would spend more money on his RPA than they would to like fly a private jet out to meet Lamello and have him sign a game worn jersey. It would cost you less to do that. Like if that's what people wanted, that's what they'd be buying. But people want the RPA, they want the 99, they want the Logo Man, so that's where their money goes. And I don't really see that changing.
Witty card collection says in all caps, it does not matter because the people buying this stuff are mostly not collectors, they are investors, !
Yeah, they're flippers too. Investors is a pretty generous term.
Indeed. Yeah, some good thoughts there. Now, the impact of this on other things. South took a really interesting take on this. His take was sort of, we are lifting the veil of ignorance right now and revealing to everybody that, hey, guess what? Actually, a bunch of stuff is not game worn. But others have taken a different tack on this, and they have said that really what this means is that player-worn stuff now actually gets elevated because player-worn is now better than this alternative. So whereas previously player-worn was the option B of 2 options, it was the worst outcome, now it's the middle outcome. And there's actually a much worse outcome, which is a piece of a random jersey that has no association to any player at all. So which way do you think that one cuts market-wise?
I'm getting massive deja vu from this conversation. I feel like we've talked about this.
Probably have.
I don't know, man. I feel like I said everything. You jump in, please.
No, it's I think I don't know. I think it actually really could go either way. I think this could actually make player worn seem more appealing because it could always be worse.
I feel like to me it's either game worn or it's not. I'm on the side of like it's either game worn or it's something else. Like I don't know what it is, but it's not game worn. He's at an event, and I'm picturing these events where these guys like don't give any shit about the hobby part of it. They're just there for their obligation to the NBA. And so like because they're not taking it seriously and they don't care, like me as a collector, I don't have any appeal to something like that. Like if someone like doesn't care about some item that I'm gonna be possessing, it doesn't really. I have no appeal to that. But if it's game worn, they wore this thing in a game where they were taking the game very seriously. Okay, that has value to me. But everything else, whatever, it's the same. So like this third tier is more similar to the second, in my opinion. I get what you're saying, but like to me, it's game worn or it's not.
So you're saying it doesn't matter if the player put on 10 jerseys at a time and you got a small piece of the 10th one that was worn by the player for half a second.
No, I mean, at that point, you might as well buy the jerseys from Walmart. Buy kids' jerseys. Are people talking about like where are they getting these logo mans? Like some of these jerseys that they're showing don't even have logo mans on them. Where are they getting these? Oh, like from hats and shit. Like it's just silly, man. Here, touch this hat. Great. I have a piece of authentic jersey that was touched by. I think what's really going to happen, Chris, if you're going to go down this path, people are going to start to look towards like older stuff, like Exquisite, and start to like read the backs and figure out like which Exquisite stuff was game worn. Not to like pump my own stuff, but like the limited logos, LeBron is game worn, and the Exquisite RPA is not. So like the collectors who are getting more serious and getting into this like memorabilia type stuff, they're going to start to want to learn like what the difference between all this is. They're going to read the backs now because they've learned about this Lamello Ball thing, and they're going to want to learn more about what did Exquisite do, what does Flawless do, what does Immaculate do, what are these differences, and like I would hope that the value moves more towards game worn or not, but we'll see. I mean, I still think it's just going to end up not being a big deal in the long run. And I hate to say it.
Game worn is like has a true scarcity factor going for it as well, because even within the limited realm of memorabilia cards and patch cards, a small subsection of them are actually game worn. So,
Right.
And we like rarity, right? We like that. So there's a natural rarity to it, not to mention a more tangible collector, authentic connection to the item. The one thing I'll give Panini credit for is that Panini certainly did not need to put on the back of these cards that phrasing, that this is not game worn, this is not player worn, this is not associated with the player. That'd be the equivalent of them going on the back of a Prism base card and saying, this is not autographed, this does not have a patch in it, and this is not Donruss. Like, yes, of course, we don't need clarification for what something is not. It's not many things. Just tell us what it is. So the fact that Panini did that, I think, was an ode, a tip of the hat, was an homage to transparency and to making sure that nobody got confused as to what this particular piece of fabric within the card was and what it wasn't. And I can certainly envision 10 years from now somebody picking up a Lamello Ball RPA for the first time and saying, why the hell is this written on the back of this card? What's going on here? So I give Panini credit for clarifying, even though it makes them look pretty silly, clarifying that this piece of fabric has no association to the player depicted at all. Finding a silver lining, I think that is it. So, okay. Next question. Cards and Candy 911 says, long term, what is more valuable to collectors? Game used patches or autographs?
I mean, I've always thought it was autographs. And this whole situation is helping my case because like game worn, like people are just potentially going to be turned off by the whole patch thing entirely. Like I don't believe any of this stuff anymore. I'm going to put my foot in my mouth, and we're not going to believe autographs anymore with freaking LaMelo Ball and Dak Prescott and stuff. It's like, God, man, I don't know, man. You might be the one, outpacing us all, Chris, by just like completely avoiding, I mean, if you really want to get real technical, like if you want to get into the memorabilia space and you like jerseys and autographs, there's like a lot more to it than in cards. And like the whole basis of cards is more about the licensing of the NBA and having the player depicted on it from like his official rookie year. It's like the card representation is much more important to our hobby than the actual memorabilia. So like, I just wouldn't get too caught up in like this memorabilia autograph stuff in cards. I know it's an important thing. People like it, but like people like Exquisite and they like National Treasures. They don't like the patches and the autographs from these players. You know what I mean? Like it's more about the product and the licensing and the player depicted on it than it is the autograph and the patch. So I just, I feel like we're splitting hairs trying to figure out like the intricacies of the autographs and the patches.
Yeah, no doubt. If the value came from the autograph, then I wouldn't be able to go on eBay and buy a LaMelo Ball autograph for a few $100 right now. And if it came from the patch, I wouldn't be able to go on eBay and buy a patch for the same amount. The value comes from the legacy, from the brand, from the product, from the product's orientation in the history of basketball cards, from the prestige of the item. Yeah, and Josh is showing the stuff that we love, right? The stuff that we praise the artistry of the item. We praise its role in history. We praise the rarity, the scarcity of it. Those are things that we really value from the 90s point of view, and there's something to learn today from that approach. Mostly 90s basketball cards wrote in and said, can we just get rid of patches and signatures? They had a good run. It's very fitting for that to come from mostly 90s basketball cards, right? Because that the 90s was an era characterized by other things. But that's really not the way the collecting tastes played out. Once jersey and autograph cards were introduced as pack-pulled phenomena, from that point forward, for the next 10 to 20 years, people were all about it, right?
Yeah, one of my favorite things about the hobby is that you cannot go back and ruin 90s parallels and inserts, and you cannot ruin early 2000s, mid 2000s exquisite for me. You can't. Those cards will always be there. They've been created. They've been designed and created by two people that I know and admire in the hobby, and so like you're never going to be able to take away that history from me and the chase to get a lot of those cards. So like no matter what Panini does in the future, I get that it like affects the overall hobby and like it could be detrimental to everything and as a whole. But like for me as a collector, you can't change the past. That's why I really like to focus on my niche of like 90s basketball, early 2000s exquisite. You can't change that. You can't like diminish it, bring it down at all. So like if you are feeling down about this and you want to like stay in the hobby and you want to convert to a collector, God forbid, start to research cards that have already been created. You can't recreate 52 tops. It's done. It was created in 1952, inserted into packs with gum from little kids. Your grandparents had those cards, and you cannot recreate that. Panini can make 52 tops reprints all they want. Or sorry, Tops can make those. Panini can't. Tops can make 52 reprints all they want. Nobody's going to want them as much as they do the original 1952. So that's the great thing about the hobby versus NFTs and everything. You can't just like create this stuff out of thin air with computers and stuff. It's already happened. It's history. It's like documented in the past, and that's what I love about it.
Right on, dude. That was a fantastic little bit there. I see G Sinatra, also known as Grant Slayton, in the chat, as well as David Riverfront Collectibles. So I just want to give a shout out to the Wisconsin Dells Card Show. It's happening next weekend, August 20th through the 22nd. Christina and I will be there. Wisconsin, the website is wisdellscardshow.com. Hopefully we see many of you guys there at the Wisconsin Dells Card Show. All right, moving on.
The word I was looking for is contrived. I was looking for that word in my mind. Then some of this newer stuff, the NFT stuff, like stuff where people are trying to create hype and interest in it, it's very contrived. And like a collector can sniff that out. You can't recreate the history of it and like get the contrivedness of it past me with this new stuff. So I'll end it there.
What do you think about this? 90s basketball has literally caused some collectors to lose their sanity.
Is he talking about Nat?
That's very true, Grant. Very, very true. All right, another question on this topic. Adam McNaney. Are we better off having rookie autographs and national treasures rather than a patch not associated with the player? So the question is it better to have just a national treasures auto rather than a national treasures RPA? Well, if for the rest of time it's going to be non-event worn, non-player worn, non-game used, I think we should think about that and provide an alternative true rookie card. But I think a lot of people like the aesthetic that the memorabilia adds, and I do. I think there's something special about a patch autograph card, but we want to hold Panini's feet to the fire. We want to communicate to them in the language that they understand, which is lots of obnoxious posts on message boards. No, I'm kidding. The language that they understand is your money, your wallet. Communicate to Panini. We really want game worn, and at a minimum, we want player worn, but we really want game worn. So we want to try and communicate that to Panini so that we can have our cake and eat it too. We shouldn't be forced to countenance the situation of, do we have to get rid of RPAs because we can't get game worn, we can't even get player worn. Hopefully this is a one-off. This is a unique situation because of COVID, And I think Panini would be very wise to not institute this as regular policy under normal conditions. All right, nice looking cardboard says this. We have several questions to this effect, including South Park's. Nice looking cardboard says, will Flawless now get some attention after the noise around National Treasures patches? Cheers.
Yeah, definitely. Just in the same way that Select got. Like, I feel like Select has gotten a lot of attention around this sort of same concept where, like, people got tired of Prism being watered down and Prism Fast Break and Prism Black. And that's a new one, by the way. Prism Black and Prism Disco and all this crap. So, like, people started turning to Select because they had field level and courtside and, like, some other interesting things. And now we're probably going to see that same thing where there's a more short-term focus on Flawless stuff. And the people that have had Flawless for a long time are going to get real excited and start to, like, post their Flawless stuff and point out the fact that it's game worn and things like that. But I still think in the long run, like, you know, just like people eventually got tired of Select. Thanks a lot, content creators. You know, they're gonna want to go back to, like, which one has the most history and which one is, like, the one you know that you want to chase, right? And it's just always going to be National Treasures because National Treasures has, you know, they were the first in 2009 and they have the connection to Exquisite more. And I don't know, I feel like it'd be really hard to take down. And again, like, just because they're game worn doesn't mean that they're more sought after for card collectors.
No doubt. No doubt. What does everyone think about all of this high-end product coming out after the season is over? Obviously, National Treasures football having just released National Treasures basketball having just released is well after the NBA season concluded. And that's the same for Flawless and for many other products as well. In fact, I think Flawless last year came out well into the season, and that has happened in the past too. So
Yeah.
Thoughts from the chat, thoughts from Josh on what do we say about the fact that these high-end products come out quite late in the product cycle?
The fact that they come out late and it's still not game worn is, like, really making me question
Frustrating.
how hard you're trying. Like, if it comes out literally before they even have a chance to have a game worn, clearly, like, this makes sense. You know, I don't expect National Treasures Collegiate to have, like, game used NBA patches, right? That's, like, impossible. But the fact that they are so late, it's just more frustrating. It's just like, really? You waited this long, presumably to get jerseys to make game worn, and it's still not. So, like, what have you been doing? What is actually happening? Why is it taking so long?
Yeah, Dodgers 20810 says they could have shipped jerseys to players along with cards to sign. COVID isn't a valid excuse. Card Porn says Panini is just being lazy. They could have purchased game-worn jerseys from auctions, just like other companies have done in the past. I don't have an expertise on this. I can't weigh in on this, but I just want to give voice to some of these opinions.
I can weigh in and tell you why. Money. The game worn jerseys are more expensive, more time consuming, therefore more costly. It requires more employees to gather them. It requires more authentication for you to get, like, make sure it's the proper one. And if people are going to spend the same amount of money on these breaks and on these boxes and on these singles in the secondary market, whether it's player worn or game worn, and it costs Panini way more to get game worn, like, what's their incentive to go through the right process? Honestly, I'm asking.
It's a great question. Carbon says he could weigh in, so maybe we could set up Carbon to come back at a later time and join a stream to sort of educate on some of us on this topic, in addition to what Josh just laid out. Rookies are going to be tough. They play minutes in a game, but it's secondary. So, okay, some good thoughts there.
The thing is just, it's easier for us to yell at Panini, but, like, behind the scenes, there are probably some, like, logistical, financial things that are happening that maybe we might not be privy to.
I'd be very surprised if Panini was voluntarily torpedoing its brand without at least having made some very tough decisions before making that decision, right? Or before making some very tough decisions before ultimately putting this product out into the market. So I think there's something to be said about giving Panini. What am I doing? I'm sitting up here being the guy who's saying let's give Panini the benefit of the doubt while the chat is absolutely raging. I do not go. I bow to you, chat. I do not go against you.
But you guys are still buying this stuff. You're all still buying it. I've seen so many people in breaks talking about it and buying it. And I don't know what they're spending, but thousands of dollars. So I'm like, if you're so mad, then stop fucking buying it. What do you want me to say? If you don't like it, why are you buying it? Because you want to flip it and make money.
Their NT fix, man. They need
Yeah, okay,
their high-end dice roll.
You prove my point. It's not about the autographs and the patches. It's about the gamble, and it's about NT, and it's about, the flip of it. So if, you kind of get what you asked for, right? If this is what you want, then they're going to keep doing it.
Yeah, I mean, just echoing, Ken says, A-Rod will fix it all. Just giving some voice to some of the chat here. Cardfiend says, it's absurdity. Panini is charging us so much. The least they can do is get game worn.
You buy it.
That's not true, though, because Panini doesn't charge you that. Distributors and secondary shops do. So let's just fix that. It's made as a $500 product. You get upcharged before it comes to you. Like, let's point that out.
There's plenty of people to be mad at,
Exactly.
not just Panini. Let's spread some of this hate around.
People still buy it. Like, say whatever you want. The market dictates that's the value. If people are willing to buy it, that's what it's worth. So, like, prices keep going up on that shit. What is Panini? What are all these people supposed to do if you keep paying more money?
We recorded with Brett of Stacking Slabs this week, and that podcast will come out a week from now. I don't want to, give away too much content from that episode. Is a very good one. But one of the things that came up was this idea, a thought experiment. Suppose that you took that Lamello ball RPA out of 99 and you removed the patch that has no association to any player or event or game. You removed that patch. You won an auction from NBA.com to get a Lamello game-used rookie jersey. You cut out the most beautiful patch from that card and you put it inside the Lamello NT RPA. And then you went and you hounded Lamello after practice, after he and Miles Bridges split up. You went and got to Lamello and you presented the NT RPA to him without Miles Bridges anywhere near him. And you said, could you please sign this for me? You wipe off the autograph that it came with, and Lamello signs it in his full signature, and he puts an inscription. And then, boom, you get the card back. And now you have this Lamello RPA altered, but it has a game-used patch in it, and it has Lamello's full autograph with inscription. Which card would the market prefer? Would it prefer an untampered with pack-pulled NTA, one of the other 98s, or would the market prefer this altered, but with a game-used and a witnessed Lamello autograph? Which one would be preferred? And as G points out, that's basically what happened with Steph Curry's Factual Treasures RPA. And Josh, what did the market have to say about the Curry RPA?
Just the skull emoji. Dead. Nobody wants it. Dead. That card is literally dead. It's like, get it out of the system.
Yes, exactly, Carvin. Untampered versus game used with autograph. And I think the people want the untampered. Oh, well, Rip That Wax says he wants the tampered 1 of 1. So I don't know.
I definitely would want the untampered. Call me crazy. Yeah, it's like that card has such a stain on it, and everyone's gonna bitch about it and yell at you, and you just know it's not worth this headache. Part of the allure of the NTRPA is that you own one of the 99, right? You are in this illustrious club of someone that owns an NT at a 99 RPA. It's not that you own something that LaMelo Ball touched. That's less important than being a part of this club, right?
Exactly. So it's deep. This gets to deep questions about collecting. All right. MJ Collector 1 million says, National Treasures, is it curious that so many LaMelo RPAs and Logo Mans have been pulled already? So I don't know. I don't have a count. I don't know how it compares historically, but somebody sent in the question. I wanted to say it out loud because maybe other people are thinking it too, or have a more rigorous understanding of empirically how many have been pulled and if it's actually an abnormal amount. Do you have any thoughts about this?
Yeah, I don't know anything about distribution. I would assume that Panini, put some effort into making sure that distributors get a distributed amount of different cards, right?
No,
So I haven't seen any like conspiracy theory stuff about that. I mean, it's potentially that, you know, in the spectrum of like 0 to 100 in time or 0 to 99, that they release like the first 33 in, you know, an early timeline just to get like the excitement of it going and show the polls, see people getting these cards and like gain to increase the interest in it. So like I wouldn't see anything wrong with that necessarily.
good point. Okay. Last question relating to National Treasures and LaMelo Ball. And it only is tangentially related. Last question. This comes from Drake's PC. Drake, great to meet at the National. Same to everybody else we met too. Autographed cards were once the most highly desired cards in the hobby. More recently, shiny cards have been the rage. Autographs appear to be increasing in demand, though. Do you see this cycle repeating over time, or do you see a time when both types of cards are seen as equals in terms of demand at the same time?
I don't know. Yeah, that's a tough question. I mean, definitely like 90s was all shiny, and then 2000s was all autographs and memorabilia, and then we kind of went back to shiny, and now we're sort of like finding that equilibrium of both now that they've sort of settled in. I kind of see them like settling in together going forward, and people just kind of pick which one they like. I don't really see. I guess the question is more on like, will content creators like push one and then push the other back and do this like oscillating thing back and forth? I'm not sure. It feels like they're both kind of on equal playing ground right now. I mean, everyone individually has their own preferences anyways.
Yeah, I think we are at a equal point right now with modern, whether you're talking about like the Gold Prism or the National Treasures RPA. They both seem to have a pretty equivalent demand in the marketplace. There's some people who want one, there's some people who want the other, and then you have all the more peripheral stuff like the color parallel and prism, or your parallel and your immaculate RPAs. There seems to be a pretty balanced collector appetite for both types of cards. I think that's a fair observation.
I have another thought. I feel like the RPAs, or sorry, like the patch autos, are kind of like backed into a corner right now on their creativity of them, like especially National Treasures and Flawless and Immaculate. I feel like those three just kind of look the same every year, and they sort of like nestled their way into this. Whereas the shiny stuff, the parallels and inserts, you know, we've seen like Kaboom come up, we've seen Downtown. We've seen a little bit more creativity, and I feel like the trail going forward on the creativity spectrum for the shiny stuff is the ceiling is a lot higher. So like I could see where that stuff starts to pull away, just because it's like, all right, National Treasures, how many ways can you make it look the same without making it look the same?
That's an excellent point. I agree. Where do they go from here? It was raised in the chat. I want to credit the commenter, but I'm scrolling too far. Kyle of the Wax Museum, on his Google Sites webpage, the Wax Museum website, has an RPA tracker. And the commenter said that he has already tracked 10 LaMelo Ball RPAs.
Wow.
That's great. And one of the main purposes that the RPA tracker serves is that it is a deterrent for people who want to swap out the patches, which is ironically of less importance now than ever because who cares what patches in it. But nonetheless, don't swap patches out. Don't tamper with the cards. And Kyle, along with others that he works with, they're collecting images of every LaMelo NTRPA that appears. This tracker is freely available to the public as well.
I want to say something about this topic. A lot of people in the hobby love to be cynics and love to bitch and moan about everything, but Kyle is doing something about it, and this is an actionable thing. I love action. If you're gonna complain about something and you want it changed, do something about it. And Kyle's doing something about it, so I commend him greatly by taking action and actually producing value in the hobby. And so we need a lot more stuff like that.
Kelvin says, or we could just all buy NFTs and then we don't have to worry about autographs or jerseys.
But wait, Chris, do I buy the squiggly line or the ape with the goofy hat? I just don't know which is the true rookie.
Hold on. Somebody
Ah.
take a screenshot. This is the new investment of the day. Mint that baby on the blockchain.
Oh wait, I was get it back. I got a screenshot. Jesus, that's worth fucking
Sorry, a little
money.
too quick. Okay.
There we go. All right.
Boom. All right. Now we're all rich. I think that's how that works.
Oh wait, hold on. Which number is that? Is that 0x44? How are you going to transfer that to me?
I think I just did.
I think I just did.
Pixel for pixel, baby. Pixel.
Bit for bit.
All right.
That was the best. That was the one I think I just did. That's absolutely. When someone buys an NFT from you, Chris, they're gonna be like, "No, fucking send it, dude." And you're like, "I thought I just did. I sent you the damn picture." And they're like, "No, send it to my wallet and my my Chrome browser wallet extension thing." And you're like, "I don't know what that means."
No doubt. No doubt. All right. Currency Project says Chris has been signing the Lamello Miles Bridges cards. I
think we could get our signatures to look alike. I feel like we should. That would be a really funny project for us to like sit there and try to get. I'm really struggling with the JJ and the CM. I'm not like, where do we move?
Both of our first names share an S. Okay.
I mean, so what?
Do our last names share a letter?
No.
No, damn. So our signature would just have to be one S. Just the S. I think that's all we can do. That's how Mello and Miles did it. They
We
found
could do. Remember when we were kids? People would do the S in that like really weird,
Yes.
like yeah, we could do that.
There we go.
The 90s S.
Yes, the 90s S.
What's it called?
Still
Yeah, the
do.
90s S.
I know what
Yeah.
you're talking about. You draw
Oh,
the
yeah.
6 lines, and then
Isn't it 9
Draw
line?
it.
this.
Yeah, that's our new auto.
That's our new auto, and you won't know.
Oh, hey, it's the S.
Why don't you guys just sign it CL?
Yeah, that's what Carvin said, or just sign CL. There we go.
Just draw a ladder.
All right, that was a hell of a first hour. All right. That now we have more topics of general interest. Cardinal Sports Cards says, what are the most common 2 or 3 biggest mistakes that are made by people who are new to the hobby?
Oh man, that's a good question. I love those videos when people tell you to buy picks and then they get absolutely crushed and then they come out with their video that's like, here are the mistakes I made. Those are my favorite videos. But for real, the mistakes that you make are trying to make the biggest for me is like when you come into the hobby, you are trying to figure out what you want to do. You're trying to figure out your lane, and then you end up just sort of like copying or following the advice or just like listening to what someone else is doing. I feel like that's the first and biggest mistake you can make because it's going to send you down this path of like not ever really being happy with what you're doing when you start. And if you go straight for like what makes you happy and what you want to do, you can't really lose in that scenario, especially when you're starting out. So that's the easy one for me. Why don't you jump in on the second one?
Oh, that's a great one.
That's a good one.
So what are common mistakes made by people new to the hobby? Josh's, if I could sum it up in a word or in a phrase, was be true to yourself. Don't take advice or follow what other people say. At least don't do it religiously. I think that's excellent advice. I think the second one that I'd point out with is don't experience overconfidence. So don't think, hey, just because you landed on a card that turned out to be a good investment, or you found a niche that's successful market-wise, or you stumble upon a card that you just love and all of a sudden, your collection is very pleasing to you. Don't let yourself fall into the trap of thinking that you know more than you do, or that you're more intelligent than the people who've been in this hobby for many, many years, and that there's nothing that they can teach you, because that's the complete wrong approach. Always be humble. Always be looking to learn from people who have come before. Always imbibe their wisdom and factor it in when appropriate in your own decision-making process. Don't fall victim to the trap. Don't be ensnared by the trappings of overconfidence, because that can happen. That can definitely happen, and you can think you know way more than you do at a very early stage, and you can make some big mistakes.
Yep, and I'll finish with that's a good one. I'll finish with don't outspend your means. Like don't get so excited that you feel like, I have to spend $10,000 my first month or else, people are gonna think I'm a loser or that what I'm doing isn't good enough. Like don't feel like you have to spend too much in order to, move up or whatever like you feel is like people are pressuring you to just sort of go at your own pace, treat this as like a really long-term marathon type thing and realize that like in your life you're gonna make a lot of money, you're going to change your likes and your tastes, so like don't try to build your whole PC, in your first month. Like really take your time with it. 'Cause even if you like had infinite money and you got all your dream cards in 1 month, that's no fun. Like you want to have something to chase, so like keep it, reasonable.
Dude, that's excellent. I got a few from the chat that I want to highlight as well. Card Fiend says, if you commit to something, don't back out. Be a man of your word and
Yep.
learn from your mistakes. That's excellent advice. You can kill your reputation. You can torpedo your reputation by doing things like that. If you commit to buy something, if you commit to sell something, if you commit to a deal, honor your word. I think it's excellent advice. Carvin says, don't fall victim to FOMO. That's always sage advice. I think a few people may have fallen victim to that about 6 months ago and could tell you firsthand about how brutal that could be. And Carvin also said, stay in your lane. That's also great advice as well. Know what you know and know what you don't know is another way of putting that, maybe. Thank you, chat, for some great great pieces of input there. Okay, so thank you, Cardinal, for that question. All right, next question. jgp.sports.cards says, who are your hobby community goats? Who are your hobby community goats? And what I want to do is I just would like to turn this to the chat.
Yeah.
Chats, don't make Josh and I answer this question. We would inevitably leave somebody out and it would be inappropriate. How about, and we would regret it later, because when you're just trying to come up with a list, it never works. But if there's anybody that you would like to acknowledge in the chat, hobby community goats, hobby community goats, Cash Cultura nominates themselves. Chrissy Buckets nominates himself. Baller Collectibles nominates Luca's mom. So we are off to a great start here. SSP Joel 1 says Elite Code 3. Collectogram says Lameme James. Yamwax says Jeremy Lee, Stacking Slabs, Jake Roy. That's a great trio. Lucky Show says Philip Goes, no doubt. Excellent. Keep them coming in, guys. We're not going to read all of them, but it's for the chat's eyes as well. 90s Jake says Yamwax, Grant, Coach TB, Peter Pac-Man, Carvin, for sure. Elite Code 3, Filmington, Phil, yep, 3 King Sports Cards. Ray 508 nominates himself. Ken Golden, Cage, Carvin, Rodman, Frankie 3500, Card Collector 2, Kentucky. We know all these names. We know these people. Stefan says Vegas Dave. Okay, this is getting out of control.
Our chat is so good.
Good work, chat. Thank you for that. All right. Next question. This comes from Mike Pinkerton 50. Who is a card content creator that you watch that the rest of us might not have heard of and should watch? So there's a very, very specific twist to this question. It can't just be a content creator. It's someone that the chat has never heard of that should be watched.
Well, I'm gonna just steal the recent comment of Alico 3. I know he has a lot of followers, a lot of subscribers. He's been around for a really long time, but I'm not sure like a lot of the modern guys know who he is. I got started with his content in sports cards. The other one is SM Pratt. He's got a ton of subscribers, but people in the sports card community don't know him. But he's he's very thoughtful and logical in how he approaches Pokemon, and he kind of approaches Pokemon the same way you and I do sports cards. So those two would be two names that I would rattle off here.
Good. I'm just catching up on a few more names here. Some of these guys are content creators that should be viewed. Exquisite Collector, Jake Coleman Cards, Paul Golden, son of the great Ken Golden, Flipping Steve, the MJ Pull on YouTube, Ryan Breakout Cards, baseball collector, investor, dealer, in that order. Yeah, I like him. I like his style. Dr. Beckett, Cash Cool
Yeah.
says, somehow in this world, Dr. Beckett is underrated. Yes, he is. Dr. Beckett is must-listen content every day. Army ATC 22, the original OG card breaker, no doubt. Northeast Ohio Cards, baseball collector, investor, dealer, for sure. Neo and Sports Cards Anonymous, great. Plenty of heroes for sale, no doubt. Plenty of great suggestions there. All right, let's move on. We have
Can I add one to that?
Yeah. Clubhouse. Jordan Hagedorn for the hobby, basketball card guy. Yeah, I mean, look, this
People
is
should
great.
be
Great
people
list.
should be seeking that content out instead of finding the first available thing to them. Like if you really want to get deeper into the hobby, start to like really dig into stuff, because like just because it has the most subscribers does not mean it's the best content. I'll tell you that firsthand.
Right on. Very good. Oh, Christina's PC gets a tag in the content creators lane. Very good. We have a question from Card Porn, more of a comment. It's just three words rather. Control, Alt, Delete. There was something that transpired this week that is very worrisome, and it's something that we all need to have on our radars. So I just want to talk about it briefly and then give a little recap of what happened. So here is the post from Card Porn. Warning to anybody who has downloaded Alt's new Chrome extension. Card Porn explains that they just released this new Chrome extension, but they were disturbed by what they found. If you download the extension, log on to eBay and load up a list of sold listings, it shows you the best offer accepted. Great. Here's the catch. The extension sends all of your HTML to Alt's backend servers for every single page you visit on eBay.com. Not just the listings you look at or terms you search, everything, your private messages, your purchase history, your bid history, your account settings page, everything. They get your phone number, your address, your email. If you're a seller, all of your sales metrics, your order history, your order and customer information, managed payments history, etc. If your eyes can see it, their eyes can see it too. All the extension source code is unobfuscated, which basically means they forgot to cover their tracks. I'm not sure if that's correct or if maybe they need, I don't know. But as they would expect, these actions are clearly a breach of privacy regulations and the GDPR. Okay, so that's the issue here, is that basically if you were using this Chrome extension, then you gave all your information over to a company without agreeing to do so. So, and then there's a follow-up in the couple of hours since Card Porn's post. Alt has made an update to the extension, and surprise, they have removed 3 important lines of code from the extension, which completely removed the data tracking components. And there was a little more follow-up here. Card Porn points out that you probably saw Alt's Spin Doctors, the penultimate slide, read that we have permanently removed this stuff, but Card Porn takes issue with this because Alt is bound by the GDPR, and at a minimum, they have definitely violated it in Card Porn's legal interpretation. If the purpose of this extension was simply to show users fair market prices, then why do they need to store all that information? Which is a perfectly legitimate question. There are bigger overarching issues with this as well. Basically, though, it is a huge no-no to offer what is ostensibly a free plugin to a browser under the guise of trying to help make the hobby better. And then as a net result of transmitting this service to people in the hobby, allegedly a free service, it actually turns out that the people putting out this plugin are capturing all of the HTML data that person is gathering anytime they view any page in eBay. That is entirely inappropriate. It needs to be sanctioned in the strictest possible fashion. It is an outrage. That should never have happened, whether it was by mistake, whether it was by on purpose. Restitution is owed for that. The people whose privacy was violated need to be made whole. They need undeniable proof that their data was not stored. And like I said, they need restitution. That is a gross violation of people's privacy. It should never have happened. It is a disgrace, and it makes our hobby look terrible. I don't know how else to say that strongly. I am very disappointed that that happened. Thank you, Card Porn, for bringing it to light. That's what I have to say about that.
Yeah, well said, man. You got me. I love how serious you took it. It's this very serious thing, and I mean, I don't want to try to, you know, jump off of anything you said because it was so well said. But I just wanted to add some pieces about like the technical side of it because I do have a background in tech, so I understand like the Chrome extension part of it and like how to write a Chrome extension, and all the code that you write for a Chrome extension is completely public and visible for anyone to see. Because it runs on your browser, so like anyone can just kind of pull it and see what it's doing. And the part I was ready to give them some leniency on this because the part that Card Porn pointed out where they were pulling the code, it's a very like lazy and simple thing to do, and it's just like just pull all the HTML. It's one line of code. It's just like just pull the HTML. I know exactly what they were doing. Send it back to the server, and then let the server, you know, figure out where the sales are coming from, where if you were not lazy, you would actually parse out the pieces of the HTML that you only need, which would be the sales listings, right? That would be the part that you want to get. And then, you know, me as a user, I'd feel more comfortable knowing that like you couldn't have pulled anything else. But it seemed to me like, okay, this is just like a lazy thing. I get it. But then they actually came out and said, no, we are storing your data. We did this on purpose. And that's when I was like, seriously? You fucking admitted that you did the HTML part intentionally, and you are taking it for our data. And now that you've been caught, you're going to take it. You're going to remove the data. Like you said, man, very disappointing, very frustrating. I was willing to give them the benefit of the doubt on the laziness, or maybe an intern wrote it or something. Maybe it was a mistake, whatever. But then they admitted it. That like, yes, we are taking your data, and this is a huge, huge, huge problem in the tech community. It's like number one. Like I said to you the other day, this is like a politician. You're finding out they're a communist. And when you steal people's data, they take it very seriously. Privacy is a very serious thing. Facebook, Google, they've all been dragged through the mud by Congress themselves on these topics. In Europe, they take this way more seriously than we do. The GDPR laws are very, very strict. Their punishments are very, very serious. They will fine you for every individual user that has been breached for their privacy. And so it's very serious, and it's really not a joke at all. So I don't know the extent of what specific GDPR laws they broke and like what sort of accountability there is in this, but yeah, just I'm taking it as serious as you did, and it's a bad look for the hobby for sure.
Now, why would a company want to collect this private data? What are some of the common uses of it?
I mean, it's pretty simple. Advertisers want that data. Advertisers would like to know the interests of certain people, and so they could push specific ads to, like, you've all seen, like, I don't know if you've seen Social Dilemma, but it kind of explains that, whenever you look at something and you browse something and you show interest in something, you're going to start getting ads fed to you on that very specific thing, and it kind of sort of follows you around the internet. And so because the likelihood of you purchasing that item is much, much greater than it would be to someone else, and it would be for you to get fed a different type of ad. So these advertising companies knowing exactly what you're interested in and your browsing history is very valuable to them, because they know exactly what ads to send you to make more money, to generate more revenue, to have a higher conversion rate on your clicks and your buys. And also internally, you can use that data, right? You can use that data to potentially serve different products, to serve ads, within your own network, to link people to certain parts of your application. There's a bunch of different usages, and there's no crime in tracking people's activities, but it's more so tied to knowing exactly who's doing it, and then also if I don't give you permission to take my name or my email address or my physical address or my credit card, if that kind of stuff is not given explicitly, then we have a much bigger issue.
We do. And here's my fear, man. Here's my fear. My fear. Nick wants to know if you can explain cookies. Okay. Here's my fear. Free in the hobby once was a great thing. There was these free repositories of information where, like Blowout was and is a great free repository of information, or Kyle Wax Museum's RPA Tracker. It's another great free resource. These things were all implemented years ago. Nowadays, when you see free, the thing that I'm most worried about is that people are pushing something as free, but it's just a trap. And the idea that something is free is just trapping you so that your data can be gathered and then sold to somebody, right? That's the thing I'm very concerned about here, is that you can't trust anything that's free. So when you see hobby companies, especially, new ones that are not filled with hobbyists who have been here for 10, 20 years, but instead new companies are coming out and they're saying, look at this great free thing we're giving you. And then while they're dangling the free in your face, behind your back, without your permission, they're gathering your data. And ostensibly, one of the purposes for that data gathering would be to package it and to sell it and to monetize it without your consent, without your permission, is a nightmare. It's an absolute nightmare. It undermines trust in our industry. It's a very scary thing, and we cannot tolerate it, and we can't let it slide. And I would be very worried about any free entity that I have signed up with. I would want to know, what the heck are they tracking on me, and what are they doing with it, and where are they storing it, and who are they potentially selling it to, and so forth. G says, I thought the crossover was free until I realized my fridge is stocked full of Truly. Well said. This whole crossover is just one big attempt to sell your information to Truly so that you can drink the best seltzers out there. So, data privacy, one of the last frontiers of protecting the individual. Yes?
But Card Ladder's free website does not do any of this.
Well, I think that's a given.
Well, I think that you should specify.
Yeah, well, Christina wants me to specify that if you are a user of Card Ladder, whether free or pro, none of this type of information is being gathered about you whatsoever. I think that goes without saying. But yeah.
When our customers reach out to me and they say, can you look at my collection or look at my Stripe stuff to help me out, I say, are you giving me permission to look at this data before I do so? Yes, of course. Okay, now great. Now I have your permission to look at your purchase, whatever, like when you purchase in Stripe. And Stripe does a great job as well. They don't actually show me much of what you guys are doing. Like, they'll just enough for me to help you when it's needed. But other than that, like, I don't have any of your names or addresses. I don't have any of that. I don't have credit cards. We don't have passwords. None of that stuff is stored on our servers. We don't have any access to any of that stuff. The only thing we ask you for is if you would like to put in your display name. And again, I'm asking you, would you like to put your display name in here? And I'm not even looking at it. We're not using any of that data. We're not selling your data. We have it only for the purposes of improving the user experience for you as a customer, and for us to help you determine, like your Stripe data in case you need to access it or change anything or whatever. That's at the very bare minimum of what we need, is what we ask for the purposes of protecting everyone's privacy.
Well said. And look, we know, or we believe, that our product is valuable. And so we have no interest in surreptitiously capturing your private data and then trying to sell it to somebody to monetize it. The way we monetize is the good old-fashioned, honest way. If you think we have a valuable service, please engage in a transaction with us and buy our product. And that's the only way that we monetize. Card Porn says that they have looked at your code, and Card Porn says, Josh,
Yeah,
code stuff good.
dude. Based on what Card Porn did to find that Chrome extension thing, I know is not easy. It's actually really tough to get that far as they did.
Mm.
So knowing that they've signed off on ours, I know that they've done enough work to know that like we legitimately aren't doing anything wrong.
No doubt. And look, there are levels of wrongdoing in this hobby, and nobody gets a death sentence. All right. If you do something wrong, but you make amends and you fix it, and if appropriate, you pay restitution or you remedy the situation properly. We just had another situation like this week where my understanding of the story was a guy did something wrong, took something that didn't belong to him, and then when it came time for him to make the situation right, he tried to lowball the guy that he stole from. So that's not the way to do business. That's not the way to operate. If you do something wrong, be generous in fixing it and alleviate the inconvenience that you've created. Okay, it's you have to go all out and invest all your time and resources into fixing the problem. That's just like the bare minimum human decency thing to do. So if nobody should get a death sentence. If you do something wrong, fix it, remedy it, prove to the community that you're taking a good next step and you're putting the right foot forward. And as a community, let's make sure that we hold people accountable to do that, and that we're also fair-minded, big-hearted people who are willing to give a second chance, but not under any conditions. The conditions of the second chance have to be that the wrong has been remedied at a bare minimum. The wrong must be remedied. I think we've said all we can say on that topic.
Yeah, this country loves a comeback story, so I think if you, like you said, accept the wrong, fix it going forward, people will listen. They'll accept that and give you a second chance. So, we're not giving the death blow to all for sure. They made it wrong, and hopefully they correct it. I mean, they've already taken some steps, right? They deleted the code. They said that they're deleting your personal information. I think you pointed out you'd like to see a little bit more for sure. And on the topic of privacy, it doesn't get much more serious on the tech stuff. So for sure.
No doubt. Ball is in the court of the transgressor, having been exposed. All right. That's a heavy topic. How do we just change topics after that?
I need another beer.
Go ahead. I'll get the next topic. Oh, the next question's for me anyway. Go ahead. Get another beer, buddy. All right. Chrissy Bucket says, this country needs Dame to win the MVP next year. That's the best thing that could happen to the hobby.
Undervalued.
Undervalued.
I'm waiting for my check, Chrissy Bucket.
That's right. Hawks and Habs PC said, do you think eBay should implement standardized listing titles? For example, year, set, player, parallel, grade. I think it would be much easier for buyers, and I'm assuming it would assist Card Ladder when retrieving data. No more PSA 10 question marks in listings.
That is for you.
Yeah, I love this in theory, but it is not practicable, and here's why. And PSA knows this pain very well. PSA knows that in order for them to grade a card, they need to create an entry for that particular set. And then they need a checklist of the set. And then they need to understand where all the different parallels are so they don't mislabel them. So PSA and back in the grading companies have to create these databases. And they have the luxury of creating them. They can wait until the cards come in. Okay, they can wait until they create these checklists. eBay wouldn't be able to do that, because one of the things that makes eBay a very vibrant marketplace for sports cards is the fact that the day a product releases, you can go to your hobby shop, you can rip the product, get the singles, put them on eBay, and sell them the same day. If eBay were to implement a standardization, they would need to be building set checklists that were already preloaded into their system and accurate before the product even came out. That is not going to happen. That would require a level of coordination, a level of research, a level of labor that just wouldn't be worth the cost. to eBay. So I think that the chances of that happening are very, very slim, and I wouldn't count on it. But it would be nice if there was a standardization. But guess what? Even if there was, what would stop people from mislabeling stuff? You know, we would get rid of the PSA 10 question mark, sure, but people would still be trying to sell their raw cards. They would just use the standard PSA 10 titling. So I think eBay is best served as being a sort of wild, wild west. Do you have any thoughts on this, Josh?
Nope.
All right, Josh has no thoughts. Let's move on. Thank you for the question, a good thought-provoking question. Schmo50 says, how does one tell the centering on some of the more intricate die-cut cards of the 90s? Examples would be Noise Boys and the Triumvirates. Also, with some of these having known edgeware problems, are they even worth grading to increase the value? Let me pull up a picture of a Noise Boys card so that we can talk about this a little bit.
There's still like some edging on that card, right? Yeah, like there's still like thickness around some pieces of it. I would say with centering, the way that I've been told that PSA and grading companies treat centering is eye appeal. So like if they see that like, yeah, this looks like the eye appeal of this is strong. I don't necessarily know that like they're pulling out millimeter rulers and like making sure that it's perfect around all edges. I think it's mostly about eye appeal. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, Chris, but like on a card like this, I feel like it would just sort of get 10 centering.
The centering on this card looks great, right? Because you would just kind of look at the borders. You would compare this border to the top border and see how close they are. You compare the left border to the right border, see how close they are, and just sort of start getting a feel for how well centered the image is relative to its borders.
Yeah, what a great card, by the way.
Yeah, that card is badass.
What was the other part of the question? I like the second part of the question too.
Are they worth grading? Are 90s die cuts worth grading because they have some edgeware?
Totally, man. I love a good PSA 5 on a really rare 90s parallel or insert. I love it. I said this to Nat in person. I was like, dude, if this card gets a PSA 6, I won't care. I will literally be just as happy if it gets a 6 or a 9. Because to me, it's about like the, you know, having it registered in the pop reports. It's about proving that it's authentic. You know, it's about having the slab. I really like the consistency in the slabs and the look of the slabs and how it protects the card. So like on a super rare card like the Noise Boys and the you know, like the 24 karat gold that I acquired, I just, you know, just get. I am always like, yeah, just get it slabbed. I bought a pretty rare penny card this week that I haven't shown yet because I immediately sent it off to PSA. It's like it's not even a part of my collection until I get it back from PSA, knowing that it's authentic. Because Jambalaya had that whole like, you know, the sheet cutting issue. Like, I want to make sure that it's legit first before I get excited about what it is. So, I always would recommend if it's something you're really excited about and it's something rare and that you feel like you really want this card in your PC, I would recommend getting it slabbed.
That's very disciplined of you. Somebody, 100 Cardboards, Paul, asked to see the Flair hot numbers. I'm not sure what the centering, I think they would try to, one of the things a grader might look at is the distance between the nameplate, on either side of the nameplate. That's one thing they might look at.
The bottom with the 95 Flair.
Yeah, and then they might measure the difference in the top and the bottom between the logo up here versus text down here. Those are some ways they might try to figure.
Can you pull up 2015 Prism something?
Sure.
Because like when I was like grading a bunch of stuff, I would always look at left to right centering on this like Prism and Select stuff, but I just never really thought to look at top to bottom centering because like on a card like this, the first thing your eyes are drawn to are the left to right centering, right?
Sure.
But top to bottom, I'm like, what am I looking at? Like there's a little bit of thickness, but there's nothing to compare it to in the bottom. So I just sort of assumed that like top to bottom is good to go on these almost no matter what. And left to right is what they're looking, but maybe I'm wrong on that.
I would compare Under the Phoenix Suns to the top border of the Prism metal part. Like
you're saying take from here
to the board,
to there.
That's an interesting thought. Yeah.
That
I just, you know,
I thought looking at this card.
But like just as like a surface level, I'm not a real grader at PSA. That's just like what my eyes go to for eye appeal. It's like left to right would bother me, but the top to bottom, unless you really pointed it out, it wouldn't have bothered me. You know what I mean?
Definitely. Makes a lot of sense. Okay, great question. We've had some great questions tonight. Can we say
Dude,
that?
only on the crossover are we talking about top to bottom centering on a noise voice and data privacy and patch auto swaps, and we cover all this shit on the show.
No doubt. Man, what a diversity of topics. Okay. WTF Frankie podcast wants to know, I'm curious your thoughts on the 31 of ones in Select Football 2020 for a player like Joe Burrow,
What?
or the 150 possible parallels Panini put into the Select product from hobby to retail, and what that means for Select basketball as retail has dropped this week. So what is that? Are those accurate numbers? I don't know. I don't know if those are accurate numbers, but even if they are dramatized, they still speak to the general point, which is that, yes, as we feared, we are reaching a point where we're going to enter the junk parallel era, where just more and more parallels keep coming out as print runs increase and increase. And we're being denied of one of the final safeguards against overproduction, and which is serial numbered rarity. And it's very disappointing and terrifying. Thoughts?
God, dude, like Select was like my safe haven for like a very short amount of time, and then a certain content creator started pumping it and investing his whole life savings into it, and then now they're making a billion parallels. It's like, God, just let me have Select.
Yeah, and I
That's
think
like,
there was a misunderstanding of how wax investing works, because we have certain people who've only been in the hobby for 2 or 3 years, so they don't actually understand that the typical trajectory of wax is that it starts strong and then it fades over the ensuing months as the demand naturally drops for it. The only reason wax was going in a straight up trajectory over the last few years was because of insane draft classes and a crazy rapid expansion of the hobby happening at the same time. Anybody who would sit there and actually think to themselves, in the short run, should wax go up or down? It should go down after release. There is absolutely a premium placed on being able to be the first person to market on wax. So hopefully lessons are learned. Content creators have also made other terrible investments this year relating to a Michael Jordan Fleer PSA 10 and a Topps Chrome Refractor LeBron PSA 10, giving a whole new meaning to the word investor and investment advice.
I mean, if investor means trust me and then lose all your money, I think there are some people that are on par for a new definition of the word.
Christina's setting a record for chime-ins today. We love it.
Christina might be a little salty today.
Christina, why are you salty today?
There's a lot in the hobby that pissed me off this week.
Woo!
Amen.
Woo!
Christina says a lot of things that people in the chat are thinking that you and I may not say, so I like that.
I like it too.
We've got like this really good little show going where like we have all the characters on the show, Like I feel like I'm just like picturing one of these ESPN shows where it's like the person you can't see in the background, chiming in with their little takes that really cut deep. It's like, man, it's just such a great, well-rounded show. He's laughing.
Carvin says after Clubhouse, Christina has opened up. Christina has been speaking on Clubhouse.
That's why I got on Clubhouse this week, was because like everything kept happening and
come talk to the camera for a minute.
I needed to vent.
If you say more than 5 words, you have to say it with your Oh, she's done. Okay.
Well, I'm actually adding cards right now. Like, that's why I just chime in from the background.
All right. That's what I'm saying, though. People want to see you if you're going to do, a few sentences. All right.
No, I think they want to see your facial reactions to what I'm saying.
Yeah, man.
I kind of agree with that.
All right, Jalen represents 10. Says, why don't you guys like Kobe?
Oh man, this is an unwinnable question.
Totally unwinnable question. And by the way, we do like Kobe. Who doesn't like Kobe? I think that's a loaded question.
I'm sure the people who accused him of rape don't like him.
Okay, that's true. That's very true. We're talking strictly in the world of basketball. Who in the world, as a basketball player, do we like or do we not like Kobe? And everybody, I think, respects what he accomplished, right? So, but do we see him with the same rose-colored glasses in terms of his legacy as an athlete? Maybe not. I don't know. Do you want to comment at all about this, about Kobe as a basketball player, not as a human who made some very, very bad choices and was involved in a nasty situation?
Yeah. I mean, you also have to remember that that guy was like a really big rival of my Phoenix Suns for a really long time. And so like we had some heated games against him. So I'm just like, I'm never going to, like Kobe as much as someone else. And, I mean, it's such a tough topic, dude. It's just, there's a lot of moving pieces to this. Like obviously his very unfortunate passing, his, allegations, or sorry, that, what Christina pointed out for him, his past. He's got a lot going on, and he's obviously like one of the more popular players in the NBA for his, his Black Mamba thing and like his tenacity and his drive to win, which are all very important factors of why people like him. Me personally, I think he's a little bit overrated on the statistical side of things. If you look at all the like advanced metrics, he's actually pretty low relative to like what people might think he is. I think he's like 27th all time in PER versus, Jordan is 1 and LeBron is 2, if you want to get into that sort of stuff. That's just my personal take on it. I understand why people like him, and I understand he's very collectible. He actually spans like all the best eras of sports cards. I would argue he has the best collection of sports cards of all time of any player. I can't think of anyone who has better cards than he does. He's got 96 Topps Chrome. He's got the PMGs. He's got the Rubies. He's got Exquisite. He's got Panini. He's got Gold Prisms. He literally has everything. All of my favorite cards. The only thing he doesn't have is like 52 Topps. Like other than that, 86 Fleer. He's got like everything. He's in all the best cards. Like if I was a collector of him and I liked him, I wouldn't care what other people thought, and I'd be enjoying all the different things I can collect. But if you're asking me personally, I think he's a little bit overrated on the basketball side. And I just, as a Suns fan, I didn't really like him growing up. So,
yeah, totally fair points there all around. Jake says he's in all of the credentials. That's a very cool. Yeah, collecting Kobe, you will be introduced to an incredible library of sports cards. Well said. The only time I get pushy on the Kobe collecting is when there's an assertion that somehow, some way, Kobe is either as collectible or as good of a basketball player as my PC guy, Michael Jordan. And that is the only place where you'll ever take issue with me if you are a Kobe collector and you want to put that one in my face. But other than that, we are good. And I love and respect some of the great Kobe collectors in this hobby. Too many to name. Not all of them, though. Some of them annoy the hell out of me.
You're going to leave me on an island with the advanced statistical measurements?
I thought that spoke for itself. There's a clear delineation between where Jordan and LeBron rank statistically and where Kobe falls. It's not up for debate. So, but in relating that back to the hobby, hobby isn't all about stats. Hobby is about collectability. That's why I kind of said two different things: collectability of a player and that player's legacy as a basketball player. But yeah, I don't know where somebody would even begin to take issue with the statistical comparisons because I just don't really think you can. I think there's the gulf is too wide for there to even be a disagreement of opinion or interpretation. It's there. So thanks for that question. Difficult question, but once again, much respect to all Kobe collectors that we admire. Good. All right. Let's move on here. Dorman. Oh, no, you know what? Before I get to that question, there was 3 questions that came in about our collections or our collecting.
Yeah.
Here's the first one from Junk Slabs. Oh, I didn't even realize that name. Grant says he had like 6 years with Smush Parker. Your data sucks.
He didn't even make the playoffs those year, bro. Like, you want to get into this? Freaking LeBron took the shittiest Cavs teams to the finals, and Kobe with Smush Parker did not make the playoffs. So go ahead. Go ahead. You want to get into it?
Up for debate. I guess it is up for debate. All right. Junk Slabs says, after a monster mail day this week, is Josh going after the Penny Hardaway PMG Red that is on PWCC? No.
Definitely not.
Definitely
not. I'm a green fan. I'm not one of those guys that like needs to have every card. And once I got the green, I felt like I don't really feel like spending $12,000 to also have the red just for the sake of having the red. You know, like I've got the green. I've owned the red before. That $12,000 can be much better spent towards getting 3 or 4 really nice penny cards. So that's how I'll use that money.
Yeah, no doubt. I agree. If you got the green, what's a red gonna do for you?
Yeah, only bums collect reds.
Nick Uliano has a question. He says, will Chris showcase his 90s Jordans? I'm particularly hoping to see my old titanium fusion gold make an appearance. Well, Nick, I brought that one out for you, bud.
You know what I love about Nick? Everyone wants to talk about not everyone. Sorry, I apologize for that. A lot of people want to talk about the drama. Nick's just like, show me the fucking cards, man. Show me your titanium. Show me your RPAs. I love Nick for that.
I agree. Nick, it was nice to meet you outside of the Donald E. Stevens Convention Center. Lucky number 7. I realized they played backwards.
There's certain guys, I'm going to put Nick in the same category as Nat, where it's like everything they say is some sort of way to like get a new card, get a rare card, build their PC. And man, I just really respect that angle. So
respect that angle as well. And the really cool provenance to that card. Nick bought that card, I think, from a guy in Australia. Nick graded it himself. It got the 8.5 that the card still has. It's a BGS 8.5. Nick graded it, got it that grade. Then it showed up on PWCC. I'm not sure if he's the one who consigned it or someone else did. Then it made its way to another collector. Then I got in touch with somebody who ultimately came into it. I think it was the guy who bought it from PWCC. And Christina and I met him at a swap meet in Santa Monica, California, and I bought the card cash.
The bougiest flea market you'll ever go to. Yeah.
Shouldn't even be called a flea market, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
would you rather have that card or a squiggly line?
Ooh.
Hold on. Let me finish. The squiggly line has 2 colors on it. No, not that one.
Ooh, not this
that
one.
one's trash. No, it's got like green and orange or something, like 2 hot fire colors.
It's a good question here. Squiggly line, 2 colors, minted on the blockchain.
It's X4, XX3. Does that change?
X4, XX3?
Well, yeah.
This one?
Yep.
I don't know. I'm going to have to sleep on it.
You can be Sleeping Beauty over there. You're never going to wake up.
I know.
Nick's
right.
like, wait, what's happening? You're trading one of the cards I used to own, one of my favorites, for a squiggly line? What are you, insane?
Do
Look at
724 says you guys
yeah.
are boomers.
I'm just like really trying to get David triggered, and I did it. Mission accomplished.
Nice.
Got him.
Is David in
Got him
here
on his.
still?
That's him right there, Dio. That's his personal account, dude.
Oh, David. Sorry, David. We thought you were gone, so we were going to talk
He
about
freaking
this junk
he
behind you.
tried to Kevin Durant us and go onto a different account. Oh man, nice try.
Nice try, sir.
What's up with all of our friends in the hobby coming on to crossover with alternate accounts so no one else knows who they are except us?
Who else?
Grant.
Oh, Grant did it too? I don't think Grant did it, did he?
I thought he wasn't.
No, he was under his main
Oh,
account.
okay.
Dio, David Owens, got him.
Show
Oh
us
shoot,
here.
Sorry, Grant. I wasn't trying to be hateful.
There is
What
the
about a colorfully dressed ape?
Now we're talking. Now,
Now I got you. Now I got your interest peaked. All right. Okay.
see the investment potential. I see my bank account expanding just thinking about this. I'm getting rich just thinking about this, and it is very satisfying.
Yeah, Grant only has the Waldorf Stores account. You are mistaken.
Okay, I apologize. I stand corrected.
Grant, his whole thing is he's on this live, waiting for something really funny to say to get me to laugh, and it usually works. But the nice thing about that is he doesn't just comment volume. He waits for like the right opportunity to go for the quality. I like that.
Yeah, he'll just drop one or two well-timed comments, and they steal the
That's how it
show.
goes. That's how it is, man.
Last question. This was for you, Josh, from SAGC Cards. When will Josh finally start collecting soccer cards? He said he wanted built-in scarcity and shiny things. Check mark if we're talking pre-2020 products. And he wanted to make sure there was authentic interest and not market manipulation. Check mark. Many of the big true hobby guys are collecting now. So what do you think? When will you finally start collecting soccer?
Oh, I really like the Mbappe Topps Chrome Rookie Refractor. I've always had my eye on it. It's still too expensive for me, but probably never. I don't watch soccer. Doesn't this Paris team have like the three best players in the world right now or something? They have Mbappe. I love that card. I think it's just a really cool looking card. You know, relative to the Prism whatever stupid World Cup one. I think that one's really cool looking. No, but Paris, they signed Messi. They already have Mbappe and they have Neymar. They just load up on this LeBron, Curry, and freaking Giannis being on the same team, right?
Also, I just want to say that with Messi, the day that they announced him getting signed, they sold and made a profit on his jerseys to pay his entire contract.
Oh,
Soccer market's on fire.
when will Josh collect his true allegiance, DeAndre Ayton?
I'm such a fair-weathered fan, Chris. I don't know if you've picked up on this, but most people didn't know I was a Suns fan until this year because before this year they were terrible, and I did not really actively root for them. I am a fair-weathered fan, admittedly, very admittedly. Suns are good.
Didn't you
I'm
have
going to the game.
your Suns t-shirt under your Lakers jersey at the game?
Oh yeah, that happened. That happened. No, the stadium was handing. Okay, fine. You want to get into this? I went to round one games rooting for the Lakers and LeBron, and then when it clearly was turning the other way, I had in the middle of the game put my Suns shirt on. The Suns! I was like, well, this series is over. The Suns are clearly better. Now time to start rooting for the Suns. I'm open with it. I admit it.
That's called a win-win.
It is. I like to win. I don't like to lose. I don't want to root for a loser. Who wants that?
That's a win-win. All right.
And now that you know Luka's really good, it's really easy for you to root for him because you know he's going to play well every game.
Yeah. Yep. the pain.
I never had a problem rooting for Luka, Josh.
Yeah, but
If he was really bad, right? If he was as bad as Trae Young right now, it would be much harder.
I don't think I'd be as vocal as the Trae Young supporters, but
Okay, what if he had turned out to be like? What if today he was the equivalent of like? What's that?
What if he was Marvin Bagley?
Yeah, what if he was right now? Could you honestly say that you'd still be rooting for him?
It'd be tough, dude. I don't know. I'd probably not. You know, you when you decide to root for a player, you want to enjoy the experience. I think that's a given, right? It's tough to enjoy a struggle. You know, you would stick it out as long as you believed in them, but at a certain point, you just have to come to grips with reality.
You know how people are like, oh, you know, you need to be loyal and root for your guy and root for your team. This is entertainment. I want to watch. I want to watch the best. This is what I'm putting my money into.
Yeah. Yep. No doubts. All right. Dorman Stash wants us to talk about Gold Prism. Do you have any thoughts about Gold Prism?
I mean, it's very, very clearly separated itself as the best parallel, starting from 2012 and onward, and I don't see it stopping anytime soon. I think the true Gold Prism is the card to have for your PC player. It's the most important. I think they're really good looking. They have built-in rarity that can't be tampered with. They can make gold waves and all this bullshit, but like everyone knows what the true one is, and I think we've all figured it out. And there's only 10. Like Topps Chrome had 50 and Gold Prism is only 10. I think they look really nice every year. I don't really have anything bad to say about it. I'm trying to like find a cynical approach towards it, but there isn't one.
Perfect. Cards and Candy 911. Do you have an NFL season hot take?
Not really. I feel like in the NFL, man, like every year, it's such a silly stat, but it's true. Where like every year, there's at least one last place division team that like wins the division, right? Or something along those lines. Where like a bad team is gonna rise. It's just a matter of who. So like having a hot take is just like you're gonna be right on one of them. So I'm not sure that it really matters too much, in my opinion. I hope the Cardinals do well. I do like the Cardinals being in Arizona, and I hope Kyler Murray plays well. I hope everyone plays well. I like when all the football players, make their fantasy owners happy. They live up to the potential. All the young guys play well. All the vets play well. Someone's got to lose. I don't know. I'm just rambling.
I think one of the cherished NFL prospects will flame out this year spectacularly.
Ooh, say it.
I don't know who. Maybe it's Herbert. Maybe it's Josh Allen. Maybe it's Kyler Murray. Maybe it's Patrick Mahomes. I don't know. But I think one of those guys is going to flame out spectacularly this year, and it's going to be painful for people to watch.
Just give me your top 5 investment picks. Stop talking guy.
Top 5 investments. Jacob Eason.
Smart.
Who's the guy who is Mason Rudolph?
Smart.
Dwayne Haskins.
You're getting further from smart, but all right.
Mitch Trubisky.
Jesus. What team is he on?
I watched him play some snaps tonight for the Buffalo Bills.
Ooh.
And Trevor Lawrence. Number 1 investment. To the moon, etc.
Heard it here first, guys. You're really going out on a limb there, picking the number 1 pick. You really thought that one out.
Thank you. All right.
Drummond.
Casey collects. Damn it, I forgot about him, G. Casey collects wants to know, is it okay to return a graded card that, upon closer inspection, obviously should not have been graded so high?
Yes, I think it is okay. I just think you need to be very clear in your explanation as to why you're returning the card, because with a raw card, like there's a little more leniency. Like, yeah, okay, it's raw, whatever. Like on a graded card, the seller's going to be very much more particular about the return. So just got to be very, very clear about why you want to return it and make sure it's rooted in like the eye appeal of it versus like, oh, I thought I was going to, flip this thing, cross it. I thought I was going to take this PSA 9, cross it to a 9.5. That's the part where it's like, yeah, fuck that. No, it's not about like your potential, like get this into a higher grade. It's more about you as a individual and having this card in your PC and like being unhappy about its eye appeal or something about how. So just be very clear on that front.
Yeah. Yep. I agree, and sellers beware as well that there should be some reasonable amount of time where a person can elect to return an item. Maybe it's a day, maybe it's 3 days, a week or something, but everybody just be reasonable. And the thing that I worry about here is that somebody would use the excuse of, oh, this is a PSA 10, this is not a real PSA 10, and they would use that as an excuse when they just are suffering buyer's remorse. But if it's a legitimate case of like, yeah, this card's like a PSA 6 and it's in a PSA 10 holder and this is totally inappropriate, then the seller, I think, should be understanding there, as long as it's done in a timely fashion.
The case that Casey Collects is talking about specifically, I won't mention it because I'm protecting his privacy. He sent it to me, and he does have a legitimate grape.
Yep, no doubt. All right, we have time for one more question.
We're not bringing back hour 3 tonight?
No.
You've been sleeping extra a lot. You've been sleeping extra, Chris. I think you're due for a little late night. Hey, where you're at right now, it's my birthday, so you have to do what I say, right? Isn't that how that works?
Oh, yeah, it
Happy
is.
birthday!
Happy Midwest
Yeah.
birthday. Happy Midwest birthday.
I think if all he wants for his birthday is hour 3.
I don't even think he said that's all he wants. He didn't say that.
That is she's right. That's what I'm saying.
Well, but even if that's what he wants, it's not his birthday where he is. So
It will be
Look at this guy.
and hour 2.
we have to respect time zones here. Take time zones very seriously.
You don't
It's
even
midnight
know how
here.
to calculate time zones half the time.
Yeah, dude, you're literally the worst at time zones. You're gonna sit here and lecture me on time zones? You're the worst at it. You're like, what is it, like freaking 6 hours apart? I don't even know. I'm like, what, dude? 2 hours.
I am definitely terrible at time zones.
All right, ask the last question. I'm
All
listening.
right, last question. The last question is, which one do I want to go with? That's a deep question that it's not, we're past that point. Here's a question that's cute. Here's a football question and then a basketball question. Let's go with the football question. What Up Sports wants to know, will Trevor Lawrence be the real deal in Jacksonville along with his supporting cast? So make your prediction now on Trevor Lawrence. And I'll go first. I watch very little college football, and I have no clue whether Trevor Lawrence will be the real deal, but he's definitely got the odds stacked against him. And there may be a quarterback controversy brewing in Jacksonville, as Gardner Minshew said that something to the effect of he doesn't want to be a number 2, and therefore he has not defecated in many weeks. Christina, will Trevor Lawrence be the real deal in Jacksonville? Yes or no?
The only game I saw of him was his College Bowl this year, and he kind of choked, it looked like. So I'm going to say no, he's either going to choke or his offensive line's going to fuck him over Joe Burrow style, and he's going to end up with a shattered leg.
Oh, right. And Josh, will Trevor Lawrence be the real deal?
I think there's a couple ways this can go, Chris. I'm gonna break it down for you.
All right.
So listen carefully.
All right.
I think he could be the next Patrick Mahomes. I really do. Or I think he could be a bust. Or more likely, he could be somewhere in the middle.
Okay. Yeah, it's hard to take issue with that. I
He's going to be somewhere in that range.
think you're onto something there. I think you should be on TV talking like that. That's a
Should I yell?
Does,
But I have to yell that stuff, right?
serious question. Does he remind anyone else of Remember the Titans' Sunshine?
Yes. Sunshine. Yes, he does. I love that movie, by the way.
All right, hang on.
He was a lefty, though, and that guy could sling it.
The first thing that comes up is comparisons between Sunshine and Trevor Lawrence.
Woo! Hell yeah. But Riley brings up a great question, Chris. I want to know what you think of Justin Fields.
I don't know yet. Again, I don't watch much college football, but the word from the beat is that in these shared practices between the Bears and the Dolphins that have been taking place this week, Justin Fields, at least on several occasions, has been the best player on the field.
Damn. You know what? When it was always Lawrence and Fields, like 1-2, 1-2 always, and then like out of nowhere, people decided to start putting Fields below guys, and I was like, what changed? Nothing changed. He like even made it far into the. Didn't they make the semifinals of the? Or they made the finals, right?
Yeah.
Didn't they make the? I was like, I don't understand what changed from everyone saying he's the clear-cut number 2 to like him going. So I think the Bears in that sense got a steal, and I would have drafted him second just based on what I do watch a lot of college football, and I would have taken him second of all those guys. So, I mean, I'd be excited if I were you. There's no reason for you not to be excited. Let me put it that way.
Yeah. Look.
Except Bears' past performance.
Yeah. So let's just see. I mean,
Have they ever had a quarterback this highly touted, though? I mean, Trubisky. Sorry.
Yeah. Trubisky was taken second overall, right?
Yeah, but he was more of like a late. He like came onto the scene like very late, and they sort of like I feel like they reached on him. Whereas Fields was always going to be sort of like this top 1 or 2 guys. He's always been highly touted and just sort of fell to you. It's a little bit different.
Yeah, and Fields has a track record, whereas Trubisky, if memory serves, he didn't really play that much.
Right.
He didn't play much in college, so it was more speculative. Yeah, but look, I'd be thrilled if Justin Fields turns out great. And we were not expecting to get a prospect of Fields' caliber. We were all thinking we were going to have Dalton, the red rifle, throw balls for us. So hard to be disappointed there. I just hope they don't throw Fields into the mix too early because they're too desperate. Give him time to develop. Don't throw him to the Wolves. Don't crush his confidence by putting him out there with the Bears' otherwise mediocre offense until he's really ready to go.
I'd like to point out that the 3 best quarterbacks in the NFL right now, in my opinion, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, and Patrick Mahomes all sat for a decent amount of time before they got into the games. I'm not saying that's like, I'm not saying it's a Boolean of like either you sit and you're a legend or you play right away and you're a bust, but I think it helps for sure. I think some of these teams rush these guys out too soon.
I think you are definitely onto something with that.
Having a plan is very important, right? Like you draft Mahomes with the plan of playing Smith, you draft Brady with the plan of playing Drew Bledsoe. That one was obviously a much different story as a sixth round pick. You draft Rodgers with the plan of playing Favre, and I think, historically that's always worked out much better. So I agree with you. I think they should play Dalton for a while.
Yeah.
So invest in Jordan Love?
Somebody did mention Jordan Love earlier in the chat.
I mean, Andrew Luck played right away. That didn't work out super great for him.
Yeah, that's oof. That probably brings back some bad memories for some sports card investors.
Someone's gonna start rattling off some names of guys that played right away and it worked out for them. Because I'm Lamar Jackson sat behind Flacco.
Yeah.
He's been great.
He did, didn't he? Yes, he did.
I can't think of anyone. Josh Allen played right away, right?
I guess so. And he
He's
wasn't
been-
good right
Burrow.
away. Josh Allen was highly inaccurate that first year.
Burrow.
Yeah.
He
Burrow.
was
Kyler Murray played right away.
until he got injured. Herbert kind of was supposed to sit, but got thrust into
Yeah.
the.
Tyrod Taylor punctured a lung, and then Herbert got his chance.
Dude, I remember watching that game and just being like, oh my gosh, they're like pretending to puncture his lung so they can get this kid in there already? Jeez. Very unfortunate for Tyrod Taylor.
Yeah, he's had quite a few tough breaks, and that was another one. All right, we went 8 minutes into hour 3. That's going to do it for this week. We're going to let Josh celebrate his birthday. Crack open another Truly.
I'm out. I'm all out.
Oh, no. No reserve? Nothing in the stash?
I feel like Homer Simpson. I got to the end of the beer stash.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for this week's crossover. We will see you guys. Thanks for being a great show. One of the all-time best shows. One of the all-time
You say that every week. You say that every week.
It's true every week. I don't know what else to say.
You're like Panini. You're watering it down.
We'll know we had a really, really bad show when I just end the show. I'm just like, all right, that was okay. Have a great weekend, guys. See you guys next week.
Card Ladder, the best sports card app on the market. The future of sports cards is here. Card Ladder is the 21st century price guide and market analysis tool for sports cards. The best tools to help you track your cards. Watch the trends, stay informed, compare cards, and track the growth of your personal collection, all in one simple and intuitive platform. Join the innovators, not the imitators. The future is here. The future is now. Card Ladder.